Man, son, yo, this hat look like it fits my head. Is it too big for me? Nah, son. I think that's a dope hat for you. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things that you should be paying attention to when you are finding the right hat for your head. What's up, all you good fellow fly guys? You know who it is, the Cat in the Hat, your resident fly guy, your chief architect, Michelangelo, StarArchitects.com, here to help you redesign your frame of mind when it comes to this lifestyle thing. And you know, on every Friday, we're going to be talking about hats. And so today, we're going to be helping you figure out the right type of hat for your head shape. Now, this fair warning is going to be a very introductory course because I don't want to give you guys too much too soon. So we're just going to talk about 4 to 5 basic things that you really need to pay attention to when you're finding the right hat for you. Now, if you find this information beneficial, please consider subscribing. I would love to be a character in your lifestyle story. Now, if you have already subscribed, like Seymour Zayla Love, fam, I'm sorry if I messed up your name. You guys got some hard names sometimes. And Rashard Smith, then you know I appreciate you. And now all you have is one more thing left to do, and that is hit that notification bell, and that way you'll be notified each and every time new content comes out. So what are the 5 things that you need to pay attention to when it comes to you finding the right hat for you? The first thing you need to pay attention to is the fit. Now, if you missed our last video on how to properly measure your head, I'll make sure that I link that up here so that you know how to properly measure your head and figure out what the right fit is for you. The second thing that you want to determine is the color of the hat. So what's going to work best for you and how you want to utilize it. The third thing that you want to pay attention to is how frequently you're actually going to be wearing the hat, because it's going to determine the type of quality that you're going to actually want to invest in. So the fourth thing that you're going to want to pay attention to is the size of your brim, and the fifth thing is going to be the size of your crown. So we're going to quickly break down each one of those, and again, just remember this is an introductory course. So the first thing that we're going to focus on is the fit. Now again, this is not necessarily the size of the hat. This is how the hat actually fits you. Now my big bro at Flamekeepers Hat Club, Mark Williamson, actually taught me how to properly wear a hat. And when you're wearing a hat, you want to make sure that the hat can easily slide onto your head, so you're not having to pull it down. That will potentially cause some issues with the brim, but you also don't want it to just flop on your head and to not have any structure to it. So with this hat, I can easily slide it on my head, can make an adjustment, but it's not moving, right? So this is a perfect fit for my head shape. So the next thing that you want to pay attention to when you're making the purchase is the color of the hat. So generally speaking, there's really no wrong way you can go with your colors, but if you are just starting to get into hats, you want to find the right hat for you, then you want to pay attention to browns. I would tell you to stick in that space, because if you start with browns being a very good neutral base color, you can mix and match it with a lot of different types of things. And don't forget, you can have sand all the way to like dark chocolate browns and everything in between. But having a brown hat is a great way to start building on your hat collection. The next thing that I would tell you to pay attention to when you're finding the right hat for you is the frequency that you're going to be wearing hats. So how frequently you wear hats is going to determine how much money you're going to spend, and then also the type of hat that you get. If you're going to wear a hat every day, much like myself, then you want to start getting an understanding of the type of hats that work for you. I tend to go towards wider brims, because wider brims actually even out my shoulders, and so those work for me. But if you aren't a guy who's wearing hats very frequently, then you just want to find a hat that every time you put it on, you feel good in. In either one of these cases, I would tell you to go check out a great hat shop like Gorin Brothers, like JJ's Hat Center if you're in New York, and have some of these expert professionals walk you through the process. But if you're not in a rush, you can stick with the Cat in the Hat, and I will get you there. Just may take a little bit more time. So the next thing that you need to pay attention to when you are trying to find the right hat for you is the size of your brim. Now, I tend to wear very bold brims. My brims tend to be anywhere between 2 3/4 and 3 inches on their width. And because of that, it is definitely going to have a bolder expression. But I want to tell you two things that can really just help you in this space. If you have a wider face, if your face is a little bit bigger, then you want to actually go for wider brims. The reason being is because if you're wearing a short, or what they call a stiff brim, that is really, really small, all that's going to do is make your head look bigger, make your face look wider, and it's going to look like you just got a little, a pinwheel hat on top of your head. Maybe not a pinwheel, but it's going to be a small hat that's looking like it's on top of your head. And so it's not going to benefit you. And so you want something that's going to be able to withstand the shape of your head. So a wider brim hat is actually going to work for you. Now, if you have a slimmer face, much like my own, then typically we would tell you to err on the side of a 2.5 or 2 3/4 brim. Like, that's probably the widest that you should go. So I'm definitely breaking the rules. But the reason being is because if you have wider brimmed hats, they tend to make your face look that much more thin, and then you could end up looking like Curious George's Man in the Yellow Hat. See how long and big that hat actually looked on his face? Well, it was because he was a thinner guy wearing those wide brimmed hats. So you just want to make sure that everything is always about balance. So the last thing that you want to pay attention to when you're trying to find the right hat for you is the crown. Now, a lot of guys tend to not really understand how the crown works, and so they're just going out and buying hats, and they have been educated on the proper brim, but they're not paying attention to the height of the hat. Now, the height of a hat can actually be a really big determining factor, because you could have the right size brim, but then the crown is really high and it still throws off the dynamic of the hat. I've had some hats like this in the past and it doesn't ever look right. So for me, because I have wider brims, I tend to bring down my crown significantly because I want to make sure that there's good balance on my hats. But in certain situations, a higher crown may be more beneficial. So let's say you are that wider face guy and you want to make sure that there's balance. Well, what you may end up doing is having a wide brim and then having a slightly higher crown. This will give some more longevity to your face. If you notice, a lot of people really love me in this hat because the crown is a medium crown, but the brim is wider. So it's providing proper balance to my face. But on some of my other brims, I have a great fedora, this one, then what you may see is that the crown is slightly higher, but the brim is a little bit shorter. And that's because it's providing certain balances for me. Now we're gonna go ahead and keep this on since it's already on when I am stepping out. And again, you can see that this color is slightly different. So it is going to have a different expression when I'm putting it on. And you know what? I think I will switch it back to the other hat. So 1 second. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So I want you to remember those 5 things when you are stepping out. Again, it's going to be the fit. You want to pay attention to the color. You want to pay attention to the frequency that you're wearing it. You want to pay attention to the brim. And then you also want to pay attention to the crown. And we're going to be taking deeper dives into each of these. But I would love to know what you guys would actually like to know about when it comes to hats, so I can make sure that I'm giving you the best information possible. Outside of that, if you found the information beneficial, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It definitely helps the channel to grow. Please make sure that you share this with a friend. There are some guys who definitely are starting to get into hats and they want to know some brief things on what to buy and what to purchase. So this will help them in their purchasing decisions. And lastly, don't ever forget that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, yes you, should always dress to express. I'll see you next time. Peace.